Well, good afternoon, ladies. Hello, this is Carla Matzdorf. I am admin to the group Overcoming Anxiety for Stressed Out Moms Who've Had Enough, and I'm also an anxiety coach. Today, I'm coming on to talk to you about limiting beliefs, how these beliefs determine what you experience in life. So as you come on, say hi, tell me who's on with me. We're talking about limiting beliefs today. Okay, I want to talk about kind of how you develop them, how they're formed, and what can be done so that you can change your belief so you can get a different response. Make sure you say hi as you come on. Hello. So I want to start off by, I always give a definition. I always want to be on the same page. I don't want you wondering what I'm talking about. So I'm going to give a definition about a couple things so that you understand what it is, what I mean as I talk. So the first definition I want to give, hi Amy, thank you for saying hi. Hey Terry, how are you? Thank you ladies for joining me today. We're talking about limiting beliefs. So I'm about to give some definition. Excuse me, my throat is dry. I just had a drink, but hi Margot. Okay, so the first definition I want to give is about thoughts, right? What is a thought? A thought is a manifestation of what you see, of what you hear, what you taste, and you touch. And I just missed one. Taste, what did I not say? Well, the five senses. So the thoughts are a manifestation of your five senses, okay? But a belief, hi Missy, a belief, all right? A belief is taking those thoughts in as your truth. So you have a thought, and now when you have that thought over and over, you take it in as your truth. So your belief, what you believe is that whatever you're thinking, hi Laura, whatever you're thinking, you're taking it as your absolute truth. Now what I want to talk about are limiting beliefs. Hi Carla. Limiting beliefs, all right? What makes them different is that we can believe things that are very positive, right? But a limiting belief is something that you're taking in as truth. However, it limits you. In other words, it interferes with your success. It interferes with the goals that you set for yourself. It interferes with you overcoming anxiety. So that is a limiting belief. It interferes with your coming over anxiety. It's a belief that you are holding on to that could be keeping you stuck in that anxiety cycle, unable to move forward. An example could be, this is hard. An example could be, I'm too old. I've been doing this a long time. Nothing else has worked, therefore nothing will work. A belief could be, it's impossible to overcome anxiety. It's just impossible, and I never will. So if you're holding on to these kind of beliefs, it's going to be hard to overcome anxiety. So where do these beliefs come from? How do they come about? So our beliefs come from our loved ones, from people who we were surrounded with growing up, that influenced us, not just our parents, but our siblings and other family members, our friends, our teachers, people who we loved, respected, and we trusted in. We just took what they said as absolute truth. Hi ladies, how is everybody? Hi Laura. As you come on, say hi. Thank you for joining me today. we are talking about how limiting beliefs determine what you experience in life. So, limiting beliefs, okay, the people who influenced us growing up, we were surrounded by them. And as we listened to what they said, the things that they said to us, we just believed them. Because why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we? We respected them and we trusted them. Why would they tell us the contrary, right? So sometimes we took what they said, and what happened was we grew up, but as we grew up, unless something came along to change what we believe in, we're going to keep that belief. And the thing is, our beliefs in life shape, influence how we think. And how we think is going to influence how we feel inside, and then it's going to influence how we respond in life, which ultimately all will influence what we experience in life. So beliefs are pretty important. So if we go into adulthood with these beliefs, it's really going to influence what we experience. So if we think life is hard and everything is just so hard, if we think we're somebody who doesn't have what it takes, that we don't know how to cope, we can't deal, we keep telling ourselves that, it becomes our truth. It becomes our truth. Well, the other thing that can keep us, that forms our beliefs, are also past experiences. Because maybe you didn't form this belief because of something somebody else said or did, but perhaps you experienced something in life, and because of that experience, you formed a belief. And nothing has come along to tell you the contrary. Nothing has come along to make you want to change your mind about what you're thinking, about this belief that happened. So our experiences in life, what they do is they just confirm our beliefs. Until something changes, we're going to still believe the same thing over and over. So what we want to do is, if we're holding on to a belief that can keep us from overcoming anxiety, we want to take control. We want to change that belief. But what becomes necessary, of course, is having the awareness. What is this belief that I'm holding? You may not recognize it. You may not understand. What is the belief I'm having? So the first step is to identify the belief. What is the belief that you are holding on to? And the way to identify it is to just write down what you do believe in life. So when it comes to anxiety, what do I believe about anxiety? What am I believing about it that can be keeping me from overcoming it? Write it all down. What is it that you tell yourself about anxiety? The next step, well, first, before I move on, is everybody with me? Does anybody have any questions? Is this making sense? Any questions about what a belief is, what a limiting belief is? Everybody's good? So I'm already into how to make a change. This is actually not going to be a long life. Usually my lives are pretty long, but this one It's pretty straightforward. I mean, you have a limiting belief, something, you're believing in something that's keeping you stuck. Identify is the first step. We need to identify what that belief is. Think about it, write it down. What are you telling yourself about anxiety that's keeping you stuck? Next step, challenge that belief. Hi, January. I love that name, by the way. It's just so different. I love it. So challenge your belief, all right? What assumptions are you making when it comes to anxiety? If you're telling yourself it's hard, what are you assuming about it that it's hard? Isn't it harder to stay stuck? If you're telling yourself you're too old, what tells you that you're old? What assumptions are you making? Where's the evidence of what you're believing in? Challenge that belief that you're holding on to that's keeping you stuck. So the next thing, after you challenge your belief, you find out what you're believing in, you want to challenge it, and then you want to create a new belief, right? Hi, Jennifer. You want to create a new belief. I'll get to that at the end, Terry, okay? What if the belief is true? Yeah, we'll get to that. Create another belief. Create another belief. What is opposite of the belief that you're holding on to? What is opposite of it? What can you tell yourself instead? And once you create this new belief, what you want to do is kind of test it out. You want to test out your new belief. You want to take it for a ride, so to speak. See, the thing is, you need to watch how you talk to yourself, ladies. That could be the last step. It's just like, watch what you tell yourself, because your subconscious mind is always listening to what you're saying. And when you hear the same thing over and over, and until something happens to the contrary, right? You're just going to believe it. Now, a thought in and of itself, right, is just a concept. But when you put feelings and you put action behind it, it becomes quite powerful. And especially if the same thing happens over and over, you just believe in that thought that you're having, right? So your belief, right? Your belief is something that it's like you have faith in it. But I don't mean faith like religious faith. When you have a strong belief, what you're believing in, you hold on to it with such conviction. It's like, what I'm believing, I know it's true. Even though, I mean, you might have evidence of it being true, but you're not willing to let go of this belief until you see the evidence that's different, of the contrary. So let's get to Terry's question. What if the belief is true? Okay, so let's say, let's say, okay, to overcome anxiety, somebody might say, well, I'm too old to overcome anxiety. Now, let's say you tell me, hey, Carla, I'm in my 70s. I've had anxiety for 50 years. I've been anxious since I'm 20 years old. Now, it's true that, all right, you're in your 70s and you're older than me, but what is old? It's all like in perspective. You're never too old to overcome anxiety. So that's probably a poor example. But old is a mindset. It's a matter of, so you know what, Terry, what if the belief is true? Can you give me an example of what you are believing that maybe is true? Because the other truth that I always hear about anxiety is that it's just too hard. It's too hard. Now, the thing is, I'm not going to say overcoming anxiety is easy, but what is your definition of hard? Because the reason why I think people struggle with overcoming anxiety is because you just lack the awareness of what to do. And then you have to do it. Okay? It has to do with my physical pain. Okay. So your belief then it has to do with physical, so that I'm guessing is that you'll always have this pain. It has to do with your pain. Okay, so if your belief is I have this sickness, this illness, this disease, this affliction, this pain, if this is your belief, okay, is there an assumption, or is there hard evidence that you'll always be dealing with this, that there's nothing else that could ever be done for this pain, for this sickness, this illness, disease? If you know for a fact that you'll always have this pain, like you went for all the testing and everything comes back that this is nothing that could be helped, you'll always be the way you are, then, in your case, Terry, if this is physical pain and you're told that there's nothing that can be done, you have to work with a doctor for pain management. And the thing is, this is about control now. What can you control about this pain or this sickness, illness, disease, affliction, whatever it is that anybody's dealing with, okay? Because you might be told you're diagnosed with something. So your belief might be, I'm going to have this forever. And because I have this forever, I'm always going to be anxious. But anxiety is the way you are reacting to what is going on, right? So if this is the way you're reacting, okay, take care of what you can. It's what you can control. What can't you control? What you can't control needs acceptance, or you have to let go of something you need to let go of, something you need to forgive, or something you need to adapt to. Terry, I hope that was helpful. So if your belief is true, okay, if your belief is actually true, it comes down to really acceptance. Because this is happening in your present time. So it's having awareness of what it is you're dealing with, right? What am I dealing with right now? What am I believing about this situation in my life? What can I do about it? When we start making assumptions we're getting ourselves in trouble because an assumption is you assuming something, or in other words, an assumption is you having a belief without really having any evidence of it, without you having any proof of it. So if you're just making assumptions, you need to look into, where is the evidence that this is forever? Where is the evidence that I have to hold on to this belief? I'm always going to be in pain. I'm always going to be sick. I'm always going to be dealing with this. And I'll always react to this the way I am, and I can never recover. What do you have control of? What needs acceptance? How can you be different? So, your beliefs are part of your mindset, and your beliefs. So, you might have heard me say that, you can't overcome anxiety with the mindset that created the anxiety. So we've talked about, I've talked about it all. I've talked about thoughts. I have talked about your attitude, expectations. And now, we're being focused on beliefs, and I mentioned assumptions. All of these are part of your mindset. And something needs to change in your mindset. Because if you're going to keep on to all your beliefs, all the same thoughts, have all the same expectations, and make all the same assumptions and not change your attitude, okay? If you're not going to make a change, you're going to stay stuck. You're going to stay stuck. And that's a hard truth, but that's why I do these live trainings. So that you have this awareness and that you can take some kind of action. Because overcoming anxiety, yeah, it can be hard for sure. But if you know the steps and you implement them a little bit at a time, don't overwhelm yourself. Give yourself the grace and the patience. It's all achievable. In the beginning, yeah, it can be hard. But I am telling you, as somebody who has 100% recovered, it gets easier. It actually gets easier. Because, for the longest time, I went without any anxiety. And yes, I started feeling a little anxiety after the death of my dad. But the thing was, because I know anxiety, I knew exactly how to handle it. Do I think it's hard anymore? Oh no. No, because I'm in control now. So, what I want to ask is, does anybody have any questions with regard to limiting beliefs? What they are, why you have them, how to overcome them? Does anybody have any questions about limiting beliefs? I said this was going to be a short live. To change a belief, it does take a while. The process can take a while. The steps, there's not so many. And when I work with a client, I will work with a client. It's mostly in my signature program, my 12-week program. that I work very, very closely with the client to understand what they're believing that's keeping them stuck, and we work to change that belief so that they make more progress. But this is something that you can do on your own. I just gave you some steps. You can do it on your own. But if you have problems implementing, you could always reach out and we could see how we could work together so that we can understand what you're believing and how we can make that change so that you can react differently. I'm processing my situations. Some days are better than others. Okay. I mean, you're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. Eventually it will happen. If you don't give up and you're consistent in what you know, it will happen. You will overcome. But does anybody have any questions about beliefs? Those thoughts that you're having, the beliefs that you're having, that's keeping you from making progress. Nobody has any questions? I believe I said everything that I want to say. I don't think I left anything out. Do mean beliefs about yourself? Oh, Julia, you were asking me, do I mean beliefs about yourself? Well, yeah. I mean, because sometimes you might think, I'm too old to overcome anxiety. I'm too stupid to do the work, and it's too hard because I'm too stupid to understand, and to I just can't. I don't have what it takes. I mean limiting beliefs, because you can have positive beliefs about yourself and others in the world, but when I talk about limiting beliefs, I'm talking about the negative beliefs. Limiting means you're limiting yourself. You're keeping yourself from overcoming. You're holding those beliefs that are keeping you stuck. Answer your question, Jewel? Does that make sense? I do want to say one thing that I don't know if I said a reason. Oops. I think I just had an interference. We hold on to our beliefs for a reason. They serve you in some way. Say what again, Jewel? I don't know what you didn't hear. My answer to you. You could just rewatch the replay and you'll hear what I said for you. But beliefs help us in the way that they keep us from struggling and failure and hurt. Because when we think something so strongly, okay, so if we think overcoming anxiety is just too hard, it's too hard, okay? Anything we try, we might sabotage ourselves. And maybe I'll do a whole live training on sabotage, because I don't think I've done that in a while. But we tend to sabotage our efforts when we have a strong belief, because we're trying to keep us safe. This is too hard. I tried it once, I tried it twice, and I would rather not do any more than I have to because I'm already in pain. So I'm not going to do it at all and just say it's too hard and I'm going to give up. So that's another reason why you may hold on to your belief and not change it. But I want to tell you one thing. The one thing that I know is that until your reason to change is stronger than your reason to stay the same, it's going to be hard for you to make a change. Your reason to change has to be stronger than your reason to stay where you are, to stay the same. Get rid of that belief that's keeping you from moving forward. Rewatch this live. Do the replay, listen to it. I gave you steps, and if you need help, contact me, and I will help you to recognize what those beliefs are and how you can make some changes. So unless somebody has a question, any questions? If there's no questions about beliefs, I'm going to I'll see you next week. But ladies, if you're just coming on, hi Rose and Brooke, I think you just came on. I'm about to get off. I'm going to put the replay. You're going to catch it in the live feed, and it's going to be in the guide section of the group. Just catch it and understand how those limiting beliefs that you have are keeping you stuck in the anxiety cycle and can really be hurting your efforts to move forward. So, unless somebody's got a question right now, I'm going to sign off for the day. I don't see anything coming up. All right, ladies. Thank you for tuning in for today. I hope you found this very insightful, and I will see you next week. You all be well and have a great rest of your day. Bye.